These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
It's a scoop session on this Tuesday with our guy, Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. There he is. He's in the KSTP 5 Eyewitness News Zoom room right now. We have a video conference room that Judd and I just found out about.
Once I sign off with you gentlemen, I'm catching up with Zeke Najee. Not that that's much of a name drop, but my guy Zeke of the Denver Nuggets, although heck, all sorts of trade scuttlebutt. Does he end up an LA Clipper for Russell Westbrook? But anyway, Zeke is running in UCLA with a bunch of other NBA players, living on Venice Beach, living his best life this summer. But he'll be back here in early August for a camp at Hopkins High School at his alma mater. So I'm catching up with Zeke immediately after I sign off with you guys. So that's why I'm in this room.
Yeah, Judd thought about retreating to Venice Beach for the Purple Daily off season. But
I've been there once. A lot of very interesting people, great people watching on the beach. That's my advice. If you're going to go to California, there's a circus atmosphere. I'll put it as nicely as possible. Bit of a circus atmosphere.
And Zeke is living literally like 20 yards off the beach. So I look forward to picking his brain on that exact thing. Like the people watching has to be off the charts.
He's young man. Live your life.
So you did. You've had many conversations here with many people, but let's start with Josh Metellus. You caught up with him earlier today, and there's so many things. Training camp is starting next week. Also, we got to get into the Jordan Addison, the latest, him getting arrested earlier this week. But what did you learn from Josh Metellus, the queen on the chessboard for the Minnesota Vikings defense?
Yes, was with him this morning at Training House in Eagan. So he just got back to town over the last few weeks. He was in Southern California. He was in the Bay Area. That's where his wife is from. Plus, he was in England, in fact, with Jordan Addison. Josh told me he got to know Jordan a little bit better.
They went to Wimbledon, right?
Foreign trip. They did go to Wimbledon. They did. Josh is doing fantastic. So next Tuesday is the conditioning test. Next Wednesday, so 8 days from now, the Vikings, according to Josh, now the Vikings haven't officially put out their training camp schedule, but Josh told me we are on the field. He's been told, be ready. You're on the field 8 days from now, 7 days from now, the conditioning test. That's something Josh doesn't have anything to worry about. He's in phenomenal shape. He's actually in the process of trying to put on a little bit more weight. So Flo, others with the Vikings said, hey, expect to be in the box a bit more. You think about all the snaps that Josh played last year, among the most, if not the most. Phil, you might know this. Did anybody between special teams and defensive snaps, did anybody play more snaps last year in the NFL than Josh Metellus? But regardless,
Cam Bynum played a lot of snaps.
He is up there, but Josh played a lot of special team snaps early in the season. I don't know if Cam had all those special team snaps that Josh had, but he's actually trying to put on a few pounds. They want him a little bit heavier to spend more time in the box. It's a beautiful problem to have. We would all welcome this problem. He is struggling to put on a little bit more weight. A lot of emphasis on his upper body.
Yeah, I can go out and show him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, he's in there just grinding away, but he's still running long distances. Told me he ran a 6-minute mile. He was very proud of that the other day. Granted, it was on the treadmill, so he knows on a track he can actually run faster than a 6-minute mile, but he was very proud that he ran a 6-minute mile the other day. He does this intermittent fasting still. So he told me he recently went a stretch of 52 hours without eating. And hey, he's big on the analytics, the science, the method to the madness, right? Because it seems like madness. When he said that to me, I'm like, what? Like, you didn't eat for 52 hours? But he's like, hey, there's a reason for it. And it helps his body. But like in terms of conditioning, he said Flo put a huge emphasis, like last year, right? Like April, May, June, entering that first year, all these guys playing for Flo, the Vikings defense, on conditioning. And you talk to Bill Welly, Josh's trainer, others at Training House, they will tell you. Bill's been doing this 32 years. Way back when he trained Larry Fitzgerald Jr., Chris Carter. You can go up and down the list. Bill will tell you, like for 32 years, he hasn't worked with many athletes in better shape, better conditioned than Josh Metellus.
That's great stuff. What can you tell us, since Josh was with Jordan, what did Josh have to say about the It's sort of weird. The arrest of Addison for allegedly driving while intoxicated, blocking a lane by LAX. But what's sort of weird is we have not seen like a follow-up there, Doug. So still wait and see. But what did Josh Metellus have to say about his buddy?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting on that, Judd, is like you have to do like a data practices request. It's a different animal
like a college
out there. Yeah, so it's going
Gotcha.
to be a few days, but the Vikings themselves acknowledged. I mean, Jeff Anderson, spokesperson for the Vikings, sent a text to probably you, to me, to a lot of reporters. It was just a matter of who needs to put it on X/Twitter first. I think Kevin Seifert had it first the other day. There was no reason to be the ninth person in the moment, whoever has the fastest fingers. But the Vikings put out a statement the other day that, hey, like acknowledging we are aware of Jordan's arrest. But yes, I've actually not seen the police report. We don't know what he blew, if he blew.
They haven't released that, but there is a police report.
I know there is a police report. I've not seen it myself.
Okay.
He was only like with them, the cops, for like 2 hours. And so there's still some question marks, but the Vikings themselves are acknowledging, hey, we are aware of Jordan's arrest. What Josh told me was, hey, like when he was out in Southern California the other day, he didn't drive at all. He's like, hey, like even sober, like just trying to navigate Southern California, Los Angeles. Josh is like, I don't want anything to do with that. So he had a car service the entire time. But he goes, the education the Vikings, the league does with us in terms of all these phone numbers you can call.
Yeah.
Just massive disappointment, right? Josh still acknowledging, hey, Jordan is my brother. I'm here for him. But as a team leader, it's on me to help educate him. Like he needs to know better, especially on top of what took place just a few days prior with teammate Khyree Jackson. So like a lot of disappointment, also an acknowledgement that a likely suspension is coming. And so then Jordan ends up hurting the team. So yeah, I mean, just very, very unfortunate. But Josh said, hey, like he's 22. Yeah, we all did stupid stuff at 22. Maybe not quite that though, right? That's the problem. And Josh said they make it so easy for us to find rides. How this happened with Jordan, it's hard for him to explain.
What's interesting? So a couple days ago, people noted that Jordan Addison had deleted all of the Vikings related posts from his Instagram, but now they're back this afternoon. We're recording this on a Tuesday afternoon. So I don't know. But then he changed his profile picture to this sort of like face emoji where one eye is a circle that says wins and the other eye is a circle that says lessons, and then life is the mouth going across with the wins and lessons circles making up the mouth. I guess that's his way of sort of acknowledging what happened a couple days ago. But for a period, he had taken down Vikings related posts from his Instagram, and now they're back, I guess. I don't know what's going on.
Is this Stephon Diggs part 2? I mean, you know what, Phil? Thank you, Justin Jefferson, for being at least like 98% normal, right? Like,
he did just have the paternity thing.
He's not the first receiver, right? I mean, it seems like it's that position, right? But Justin, thank you. I mean, I wasn't aware, so thank you for laying that out on the Jordan Addison social media stuff. But yeah, I mean, he can do whatever he wants with social media. He had a really good rookie year. It was time to build upon that, be even better this year. Now we have this off the field setback. I can promise you there are many people at the Vikings incredibly pissed off.
Yeah. What did Josh have to say about, to go back to what you talked about, Dukes, Khyree Jackson too? Because I mean, I'm sure that the Vikings would be pissed off at Jordan, period. But the fact that this comes, on the heels of the Khyree Jackson tragedy, in which he was a passenger in a car of a person that we don't know was drinking, allegedly the car that knocked them off the road. But, just the fact of, if nothing else, the timing of this entire thing, it's just incredible, including the fact that Jordan had weighed in, I believe, on Twitter or X, about Khyree. So he was fully aware of the tragedy of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, Josh said right on the heels of what took place in Maryland, like just pure stupidity. Now, those are my words. That wasn't necessarily Josh's choice of words, but that was the message that he was attempting to relay to me this morning. On Khyree, Josh said, hey, like, I'm dedicating this season. Many of us in the DB room are dedicating this season to Khyree. Josh said, hey, like, I know he's overcome a lot, started to get to know him April, May, was looking forward to taking him under my wings. He goes, I even told Khyree when we go to Chicago, I was going to take him shopping. So there's some specific store in Chicago that Josh loves. He had lined that up saying, hey, Khyree, I'm going to take you shopping. I want to buy you some stuff. And yeah, I mean, as Josh said, I mean, just wrong place, wrong time, 3 whatever in the morning, and just based on the police report, we believe the car that hit the car that Khyree was in, that person, that individual was intoxicated. But yeah, I mean, just an absolute tragedy. But yeah, I mean, Josh said, hey, it's not just him. He knows a lot of his teammates. They're dedicating the season. He told me some stuff that Harrison put in their group chat about, we love each other. Like, can't wait to see all you guys here, starting next Tuesday. Let's give each other an extra big hug. Like, let's just make sure, the old cliche, right? Like, live every day to its fullest. You're not guaranteed that next day.
Whether it's through your conversation with Josh Metellus or just your other general knowledge and conversations, Brian Flores, year 2 Miami, when he was the head coach. Year 1 was kind of a lay the groundwork year, and their defense was still like 30th in points allowed. Year 2 was the big jump up to, I think, 5th or 6th in scoring defense in Miami. Well, they made a pretty big jump in year 1 from one of the 3 to 5 worst defenses under Ed Donatel up to 15th in scoring defense. But I feel like there's a year 2 jump coming as well. I know they lost Danielle Hunter, but I feel like the edge room got better to me. What are you hearing just about the defense going into year 2 of this complex system?
Yeah, I mean, Josh is uber pumped up. He goes, it took me a full year to really grasp what Flo was trying to accomplish. Like, Josh goes, I'm ready to roll. Like, Josh feels like he's going to have an even better year this year. And he had a good year last year. And he's like, hey, like, I know for Pro Bowl consideration, I need to be a certain position. So I guess safety. He goes, I'm trying to get the NFL to change that, Swiss Army knife, all that, playing all these different positions. But Josh feels like he's got a Pro Bowl year in him. He really does. And so I know he's pumped up. Now, hey, a lot of new faces, right? We're acknowledging that, Shaq Griffin and Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel, who, by the way, it sounds like he's doing well. Like, I don't know, maybe he starts the first couple of days on the pup, but Van Ginkel should be ready to go here pretty darn quick next week. Not necessarily TJ Hawkinson, but Van Ginkel physically. I think it's taken a little bit longer than all of us thought with the foot, but Van Ginkel is doing well. And then you've got Jonathan Grenard. I mean, Josh said, hey, like, he loves, calls him JG. Then Dallas Turner. I mean, Dallas Turner is from the same hometown as Josh Metellus. So that's another guy that Metellus is taking under his wing. So, I mean, he just said the way that Dallas, showed off his skill set to us in May and June, there definitely is an excitement. So, yes, I think there is a belief that, hey, even though Danielle is gone, that they have enough talent back with the free agent additions they made that fit more of what Flo is trying to accomplish, that the defense can be better. Even though it was good last year, it can be better this year.
Speaking of that, has there been any, in your mind, Doogie, concern about the fact that Turner and J.J. McCarthy, as of this recording, are 2 of only 5 first-round picks who have not signed yet? As we know, they get 4-year contracts, fully guaranteed, that slot into their draft position, 5th-year options. There are some extenuating things that can get in the way, but I don't sense a lot of concern about the fact that McCarthy and Turner have not signed their contracts.
Put it this way, Josh, close enough with JJ, right? The Michigan connection, close enough with Dallas because of the hometown connection. Josh told me, because I asked the question, he said, don't worry about it. Now, he didn't elaborate on that, but he just said, don't worry about it. So first practice, now they don't even put on the pads until 3-4 days in. So they're not in full pads a week from tomorrow, right? We're still a few days out. We're still 9, 10, 11-ish, 12-ish days out from full pads. But in Josh's words, he told me, don't worry about it.
All right. I have another just sort of random Vikings question here. A year ago, there was a lot of Justin Jefferson contract steam after the 3rd year. They got really close per year reporting up until the first day of the season. But then it took a full year eventually to come to fruition. What about Christian Darrisaw? Is that a next offseason thing, or should we be on contract extension watch for one of the best left tackles in the NFL?
Well, I mean, I think it happens next year, not now. but it's on my radar. Like there have been at least, preliminary discussions, but I don't sense like we're going to have news next Tuesday. So, some combination of Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah will address us 1 week from today. I don't sense, like I remember going back to Mankato, right, how many different contract extensions got done that day, that reporting day. Phil, I don't sense that's the one to keep an eye on. The one I would keep an eye on is Cam Bynum. There's mutual interest. Now, as of even a couple weeks ago, it didn't sound like anything was off the ground, but that would be the one more so than Darisaw. Now, hey, I foresee Darisaw being here for a number of years. They know what they have there. They know they need to take care of him. It's going to be an enormous contract. I see Darisaw here for a while, but more short term, I'm more focused on the Bynum situation, not the Darisaw situation.
In my opinion, they're going to make Bynum probably a pretty solid offer during camp. It's up to him, though, to take it. Because like the Vikings ordinarily tried to do, especially with a player like that, just like they did with Josh a year ago, pretty fair contracts, but they're not break the bank contracts. The interesting thing, so the Jefferson Darisaw comparison that Phil just broached, I think there's two tentacles. One is Jefferson's such a special player. I mean, he's one of the best players in the entire league. So I think that took precedent as far as it was just a very unique thing with a player that is special. The Darisaw thing, guys, I think they're going to let play out more because there's one thing about him. He's gotten hurt a lot. There is because he's going to want to break the bank. I don't think he's going to take anything that's like, oh, that was very nice, right? The Hunter contract, 5 years ago now or something. So I think the Darisaw thing might be very intriguing. If Christian Darisaw has to miss time again this season, I could see that contract getting to be difficult because the Vikings, I think, are going to have some reservations about paying that much to a player long term if they feel that the injury history has become a genuine concern.
I'm also looking up. I mean, Darisaw has gone through at least one agent change. Let me see who his listed agent is now. Oh, Drew Rosenhaus. So he's gone through two different agent changes. So I don't know how that impacts things. He was with one guy, entering the draft, and then soon thereafter changed to a different guy, a more power broker type agent. Now he's with Rosenhaus. Now, hey, Rosenhaus just did what? The Van Ginkel contract, the Aaron Jones contract, the Grenard contract. Drew Rosenhaus has an excellent relationship with Rob Brzezinski. That's why I think the deal will get worked out. But yeah, I'm with you, Judd. I think there's going to be a little bit more patience because of that injury history. But I'm telling you, I foresee that deal eventually getting done.
Okay, I have a couple Wolves Summer League things and then the rest of Doogie's scoop bag. But next week is 3M Open Week in the Twin Cities. Some of the best golfers in the world will take their shot at glory on 18. We might see some large crooked numbers on one of the toughest closing holes in all of golf. But it's the week of July 22nd through the 28th, and tickets are available at 3mopen.com. You can just do individual fan pass tickets. They also have party deck tickets available. They have group outing tickets available, at least according to their website. Arnie's Cabin, the 14th hole private cabin, 12th hole Loge Suites. Check it all out at 3mopen.com. And a shout out to our friends at Nicolay Law, the exclusive personal injury law firm of Score North Podcast. Nicolay Law knows that when you or a loved one gets injured and life comes to a stop, you're going to need someone standing by your side, helping you to get the compensation you deserve after the accident. That's where Nicolay Law comes in. They're proud to serve the Twin Cities communities that they live in. The only difference between people at Nicolay Law and everyday folks around the community is they just happen to have law degrees to help you start your path to winning at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. So, again, we're recording this on a Tuesday afternoon. The Wolves' next Summer League game is in just a few hours tonight. They're 2-0. Terrence Shannon Jr., 24 years old, looks impressive. Not super surprising. He's one of the older players. You would kind of expect him to dominate 19, 20, 21-year-olds. Daishen Nix has looked really good through two games, Doogie. Big 6'5" ball-handling guard. He came in garbage time for the Wolves a few times last year. And then my guy, I was telling Judd about this on Flagrant Howls, Nadir Haifi from the Paris team in the top French professional league, helped his team to the Euro Cup championship, which is the second European. There's Euro League, right? And then Euro Cup, I guess, is the second term. Anyways, like there's some really Rob Dillingham, Jalen Clark had 6 steals in the second Summer League game. So just any general or specific Wolves Summer League thoughts from you?
Well, yeah, I mean, Terrence is going to be a rotation guy this year. Like everything I've seen so far through, the small sample size of a couple games just affirms what everybody told me, heck, pre-draft, right after the draft, whether it was Brad Underwood, people with the Wolves background. Yeah, I mean, he'll be 24 here in a couple weeks. Like the idea is a 24-year-old is going to contribute right away. But yeah, encouraging that he's looking the part of a really good player, certainly in that setting, right, against 21-year-olds, that he's having a good run. But yeah, Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to be a rotation guy this year. On Knicks, I mean, they re-signed him to a 2-way deal. I thought it was a little aggressive. Like, why not let it play out a little bit? But there was a little bit of interest across the league. They like him enough. So maybe at some point, Phil, but they are still kicking the tires on some other moves. Now, hey, it's not like they can offer, the biannual exception or anything like that, right? I mean, they're handcuffed, right? We're talking about, minimum type deals. Yeah. But we now have details, although it hasn't officially been filed with the Players Association, but the PJ Dozier deal is now official. It's a partial guarantee. So he's not locked in for the entire year. So he's going to have to earn that opportunity. Like, they are kicking the tires on Landry Shamet, on Lonnie Walker. Like, can they get any of these guys? Tyus Jones, I'm telling you, I don't see it, Phil. Are there Tyus Jones fans here? Sure. Right? But, like, if Tyus needs to take a pay cut, there are teams that can offer $5 million a year. I don't think he's coming here for 2.5 or whatever his vet minimum is, somewhere in that ballpark. Plus, he could take $5 million and go start somewhere or just end up back in a Wizards uniform. So I know some people still are wondering, like, Tyus Jones is out there. And hey, to me, it's unique. Gary Trent Jr. is still out there. Like, I'm scratching my head. I'm shocked that these guys are still on the board.
One of the best shooters in the league.
Yeah, on July 16th. That might be a little aggressive, but he's good, right? And so, and you look at the free agent point guards, there's a bunch of guys available, but do know that the Wolves are still kicking the tires on some of those guys, that with the Dozier information now official, that it's a partial guarantee. When you're looking at really only 13 right now, fully guaranteed standard contracts, plus the Dozier contract, which is a partial guarantee. On Jalen Clark, like, he has a chance, right? I mean, he was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, that's his calling card. There is a chance at some point that because of his defense, now the offense has a long way to go, but that his defense can earn him some NBA minutes. I'm not talking about 30 minutes a night or even 23 minutes a night, but Phil, I wouldn't necessarily rule that out like middle of the season, especially if there's an injury, some sort of setback where, more of an opportunity presents itself. But yeah, I mean, I would keeping an eye on Jalen Clark. Then, you wonder about Josh Minot, Leonard Miller. Of the two, I don't think both are going to be rotation guys this year, but I still think one of those guys has a chance to break through this year. But yeah, there's still enough stuff going on with the Wolves. Heck, Charlie Walters had the note the other day in the Pioneer Press in his notes column about, the Seattle scuttlebutt, right? That, does Glenn, before even arbitration takes place, does Glenn buy out Laurie and A-Rod with some sort of promise that Laurie and A-Rod will be the point people on a Seattle expansion team at some point? Yes. I believe the NBA will expand to Seattle in the next 5 to 7 years? Yes. Same with Las Vegas. But I checked on that. Now, hey, there's some people very close to Glenn that can't get Glenn to say anything right now. Like Glenn, whoever got, whether it was Greg, his attorney, some other people, Becky, like they have convinced Glenn, do not say a word. You need to shut your mouth on this situation.
Wrong.
And so I can't get him to crack right now. Mark and Alex, same deal. But as far as I can tell, maybe it eventually gets to that point. Heck, I've laid that out going back months, that maybe it does get to that point of Glenn buying out Mark and Alex, because it's still going to be hard for Mark and Alex to get ultimate approval from the Board of Governors, who, by the way, are supposed to be meeting either today or tomorrow in Vegas. Nothing to do with Wolves ownership, but just saying the Board of Governors, they meet all the time and they're set to have a meeting in Vegas. But I'm just telling you, like, nothing going on behind the scenes on Mark and Alex ready to accept some sort of buyout payment before arbitration takes place. We still don't even know officially the arbitration date. Now, I think inevitably it will leak, but I think it'll have to be one of the arbiters that leaks it. Like, I don't think Mark and Alex are going to leak it. I don't think Glenn is going to leak it. Maybe one of the attorneys, enough people are going to have working knowledge of when the arbitration hearing is, but we are still awaiting that as we sit here in mid-July. We thought it would be July/August. Well, at this point, we're still awaiting word on arbitration.
I will say this morning, Alex Rodriguez did a rare interview on a Seattle sports radio station with my friend Mike Salk, who's the morning show host, Brock and Salk on 710 ESPN.
A lot of baseball talk, right? Because he's in Arlington doing baseball, analysis for Fox.
But he's Seattle. I mean, I lived there for 2 years, and people in Seattle do not like Alex Rodriguez. He's very much, I don't know what the comparison would be here, but, think about an athlete that left you high and dry. I mean, there's a few examples we could choose from. So I don't know. Is there a world where it was a trial balloon to see how Seattle sports fans accepted him? I don't know. I'm just throwing out theories, but maybe they were just talking ball, talking baseball, all-star game.
He likes to be liked. We know that.
And hey, now with Bloomberg, maybe it eventually gets to that point, but I'm just telling you, Lori A-Rod are fighting this thing to the end.
Yeah.
They are not accepting any sort of buyout.
But it's not their choice.
The 6 weeks.
They could, if it doesn't go their way and it's not their choice at this point, would they pivot to something else?
And at that point, what's the point in being a limited partner?
Right.
A healthy limited partner, by the way, where Glenn only has, percentage points more ownership than you do. But if Mark and Alex do not get approval or they lose the arbitration hearing, but let's say they win the arbitration hearing, I think that's plausible, but then they don't get the 23 votes from the Board of Governors. Okay, then what? They're really going to stay on board as limited partners? So then I think we would have that sort of conversation. Maybe, right? But
that would be an untenable situation, dude.
Really, really aggressive.
You're not going to have them. I mean, that would not be workable. I just hope that if Glenn gets the team back, there is some type of plan here. That's what I hope. The stability on the floor is so great, right? And front office-wise, I think they do have a lot of good people. Basketball-wise, great. But it would just be such a shame to see this disintegrate because these guys because somebody couldn't get their ducks in a row, right? I mean, Tim Connelly has been so important. And if you look at what I talked about, Phil, with this on Flagrant a couple days ago, when you look at what this team's built, you can see in their Summer League games, they philosophically play the same way that they do in January now. They've gotten so much refined. It would be a shame to see that go by the wayside because of this pissing match.
Well, I mean, going back to the last couple months, okay, they let Tim dictate the terms of his new contract, right? That Tim wants the escape clause 1 year from now. But they're hopeful that with the progress they make over the next year, that Tim is going to be here for a while. Matt Lloyd, right? Getting a bump in pay. They knew about the Charlotte interest, okay, but you give him a new title, a bump in pay. Mike Inori is going to get a bump in pay. Chris Finch gets a bump up in pay, a contract extension. Glenn and Becky had a lot to do with that. And so I would say just based on the actions of the last, 4 to 6 weeks, it's trending in the right direction.
Yeah. Dukes, let's empty the scoop bag here. What else do you have in the last couple minutes?
Absolutely. Just came from Lynx practice. Kayla McBride broke the news. She'll be in the WNBA 3-point contest on Friday, All-Star game on Saturday. So with the Twins, Brock Stewart is ready to go. He should be in the Twins bullpen on Saturday at Target Field against the Brewers. But it sounds like there's a possibility the Twins still wait a little bit. Royce Lewis as well. It sounds like Royce Lewis is actually going to play some rehab games. I thought they could do some live pitching at Target Field. Royce is ready to go. He wants to be back in the Twins lineup on Saturday, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And so, rehab assignment, mini rehab assignment. Hopefully Royce is back in the lineup, maybe for one of those Phillies games early next week. You think about this 5-game stretch coming out of the break, Milwaukee into Philadelphia, but all at Target Field. Tough games, but hey, home games, go win them. It sure would be nice to have Royce in the lineup for at least one, if not a couple of those games, but don't be surprised if there is some sort of rehab assignment. I just know this. The Twins have talked about him going to play with the Saints for some stretch before rejoining the big league ball club. Former Wild captain Mikko Koivu will be in a courtroom, or his representation will be in a courtroom on Thursday. It's not a physical domestic situation. We're not talking domestic violence, but there's some just crazy allegations being made by the mother of his children.
Oh,
just some,
yeah,
nasty stuff. And hey, I'm acknowledging this because, it's a court hearing. It's public knowledge, right? Anybody can look it up. And so there's a court hearing on Thursday. I don't know if there's going to be much closure with that court hearing on Thursday, but Mikko Koivu, his family dynamics, just, not good for multiple people involved. I also wrote down that I connected with Mo Ibrahim, the former Gophers running back, this morning. There's some Houston Texans interest, I'm told. He's doing well physically. Not only the Achilles issue going back to his Gophers career, but a hip/knee issue. It's just been one injury after another. But also, it sounds like the Vikings have at least kicked the tires. Like, his representation sent out video of him working out to every NFL front office. And so a few teams have at least followed up on that video. And it sounds like the Vikings are actually one of those teams. But I'm not sure I would bet right this second that he ends up in Vikings camp. But still, I thought that was interesting. I also connected with, this morning at Training House in Eagan, Dakota Lindworm from St. Francis. She is heading to Paris on Monday. Pretty cool. Distance runner. So she's got a hell of a story. Former Division II walk-on. And now she's an Olympian. And hey, she says the course over in Paris, hilly enough where she feels like she's got a chance. I mean, long shot to medal, but still, nonetheless, a young lady from St. Francis, pretty darn cool that she will be over in Paris representing Team USA. She is a diehard Wolves fan. She said she is very much looking forward to the opening ceremonies, tracking down Anthony Edwards for a picture.
Nice. Darren Doogie Wolfson, we've kept you 4 minutes past our allotted time, but it was worth it.
I'm okay. One more note, two more notes, in fact. I'll follow up a little bit more, but Dawson Garcia of the Gophers in a walking boot right now. I can expound on that later in the week. Not much to worry about, but still noteworthy that Garcia in a walking boot. And Bobby Witt Sr., so we saw his son star in the home run derby last night. Bobby Witt Sr., the former big league pitcher, is now an agent. He represents one of the Twins' top draft picks. I can give a little bit more on that on Thursday. Just kind of a cool note. That high schooler, the Twins fully expect to sign him. He was the 69th overall pick, the lefty pitcher from the Dallas area. But I thought it was a cool note that Bobby Witt Sr. is representing this new Twins draft pick.
I saw him pitch when I was a kid at the Metrodome one time. The Texas Rangers.
Yeah, he was a pretty good pitcher for the Rangers.
I saw him pitch as an adult.
Yeah.
All right, boys. I'm off to talk to Zeke Najee. We'll talk on Thursday. Yeah.
All right, we'll see you Thursday. Darren Doogie Wolfson, there's your scoop session here on Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd.